Hi, everyone. Identified as the last link to the generation of knowledge, Rav Mishulam David Soloveitchik was a major Torah scholar, a venerated link in the famed Brisker dynasty. When asked about this point in our year, he lovingly recalled a story in the name of his father, Rav Elvel, the Brisker Rav. Rav Elvel likened our predicament here in the month of Elul to a man trying to smuggle his wealth across the border. In order to do so, he hired a professional with a horse and wagon to transport him and his wealth in the dead of night past the watchful eye of the Border Patrol. For 2 whole weeks, the man was uneasy with the plan and his predicament, knowing that if anything went wrong with the plan, if the smuggler double-crossed him, or that they got caught, then death would be a blessing in comparison to the torture that they were going to endure. While not as invested, a few nights prior to the night of the operation, the smuggler too planned and worried. He too was aware of the danger of the mission and wondered how he would survive it. In fact, on the night of the actual mission, there was no living creature who was not anxious, except the horse. Owls upon us, said the Revelvala. Don't be a horse. Don't be a horse. Who would dare think of approaching the Yemei Hadin, the days of awe and judgment, by horsing around? There's so much to do with all those preparations and shopping and packing and rescheduling and fitting in everything that's going on. How can we be horses? Why the message of don't be a horse? Perhaps the message can be found in this week's Parsha, the Parsha read every single year prior to Rosh Hashanah. We're told to be careful of the situation we're in. We are told, "V'haya b'shamo es divrei ha'Allah hazos." It'll be when a person would hear the words of this oath, "V'sbarech b'lvavo lemor shalom yi'ali ki b'shrirus libi elech," and he'll say in his heart, "I'll have peace even if I follow my heart's desires." The individual herein is acting complacently. But why is the person so complacent? And why does Hashem get so upset at that person? I believe it was Professor Elie Wiesel who noted that the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. And the opposite of faith is not heresy, it's indifference. And the opposite of life is not death, it's indifference. Rabbi Lamb also added to us that the antonym of reverence and awe is also indifference. Now, both Rabbi Lamb and Professor Wiesel were underscoring the same idea, that we need to learn to yearn in life. To be successful at any undertaking, we need to have passion. And when the Jews were in Egypt, they observed two groups of Egyptians at the time of Makas Barad. The first are called Hayareis Devar Hashem, those who feared the word of Hashem. Those people heard Moshe's pronouncement and brought their items and animals inside for protection. But then there was the opposite. And the opposite was Vasher lo Shaslibo, not those who didn't believe Moshe or challenged Hashem. No, the Torah states that it was those who merely didn't pay attention to the whole story. They were indifferent. And being indifferent to the word of Hashem is not just not a good thing. It's a passion destroyer and a belief killer. For that, lo yoveh Hashem sloach. Hashem can't forgive the person who does not have that style, who doesn't have the passion. The British chief rabbi, Rabbi Ephraim Mervis, once noted that when people ask me, what are our main challenges? I identify the three as assimilation, anti-Semitism, and apathy. Assimilation is happening from within our own ranks, he noted. Anti-Semitism is a threat posed to us from outside our ranks, and apathy is something people aren't really expecting you to talk about, but it's there. And apathy exists both within the ranks of the already committed and those who are not committed as yet. Now, that's a message we might want to consider. The year we're on the cusp of completing has been one that's been filled with a lot of challenge. We've lost some great people, soldiers, Talmidei Chachamim, scholars, and even the everyday man, whether from our own Jewish community or within the world community, from young to old, sometimes completely senselessly. But one thing that seemed to unite that entire group to a T was that they were people who lived lives with a strong sense of meaning and purpose. They had passion. And with their collective voices gone, their message can't be lost. We need to deliver a passion. was something to live for. Rabbi Dr. J.J. Schachter reminded us of a story that his father, Rabbi Herschel Schachter, used to tell about the early years of communism, when many Jews got caught up in the ideals of the movement and rejected their own tradition. And even in the yeshivas and Hasidic courts, students closed their books and forsook their heritage for the promises of a utopian society. In one Hasidic court, the Hasidim asked the Rebbe how the communists were so successful when they were selling sheker, when they were selling falsehood in place of the Torah's emes, in the place of Torah's truth. And the Rebbe responded that while it's true that we have emes and they have sheker, but they fight for their sheker with emes. They fight for their falsehood with conviction, with feeling, and with passion, convinced of the certainty of their position. On the other hand, sometimes we fight for our truth, but we do it half-heartedly, in a matter-of-fact, perfunctory way. And to win a battle, we need to fight the battle of emes with emes. We need to fight the battle of truth with truth itself. And so as we enter the high holiday Yamim Noraim season this week, we have an opportunity to not just trot through the season, but to pick up the pace towards building a passion in our observance, in our actions, and developing true meaning in our lives and our relationship with Hashem. With the forces of sheker, of falsehood, already marching zealously against us, our response needs to be stronger and more fervent in regard to our mission in life. L'takein olam b'malchut shakai, to fix the world, to recognize and act under the majesty of Hashem, and to act in regard to the will of Hashem. And so as we approach the end of the year 5785 and start the year 5786, may Hashem bless us and our families with all the means necessary to achieve the ultimate freedom trip, the one that comes with the sounding of a different shofar, the one that blows L'Cheruseinu. Wishing you and yours a Shana Tova Umetuka, a happy, healthy, sweet year, a year of bracha, hatzlacha, in all good things always, and wishing you and yours a Shabbat Shalom to all.